Hello, how are you? Welcome to Hey Han. I'm your host, Hannah Fletcher, and today we will be speaking with Hal Rudnick. Let's do this. Now, we are joined today by Hal Rudnick. Thank you so much for being on the show. How are you today, Hal?
I'm great, Hannah. Thanks. Yeah, it's a Friday. Looking forward to the weekend. Going to a wedding tomorrow. Yeah.
Where's the wedding at?
It's about an hour away from Los Angeles here in a little town called Piru, Piru, which is like up the 5 freeway. And it's the kind of place where like they'll shoot westerns and things like that up there because it's like so desolate. But there's like a very nice manor house that is up there. And a friend of my wife and mine is having their wedding there. But it's kind of just a small town with tumbleweeds and stuff like that.
That's awesome. I was always wondering if they have like a go-to spot for being able to film anything Western or in that genre. So I learned something. Thank you.
Oh, well, and if you want to know a little bit more about that, I don't know if you've seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the Quentin Tarantino
Yeah.
movie with Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah, the Manson family lived on a ranch called the Spawn Ranch where they would film westerns and stuff. So they're like their places. You being in Hollywood, they want to shoot everything here. So there are definitely places all around Los Angeles and Southern California that are dedicated to look like another part of the world. Like, so there are places for westerns. There are places that look like small towns in Massachusetts or something. Yeah.
That's really neat. Thank you for sharing that. I haven't had the opportunity to really venture out of this particular like LA region that much. I think the furthest I've went is San Diego one time, and it was for an event that was one day. I had to drive down and come back. So I'm really curious to continue to explore the places around LA. I'm from a small town back in Virginia. So anything that gives like a really homey small town vibe is definitely something that I'm interested in. So thank you for sharing.
For sure, for sure. Yeah,
Awesome.
there's so much around LA just as far as like you can go to Big Bear and you can be up in the mountains, and then you go up to Santa Barbara. It's beautiful up there. So yeah, take in some of the sights of California. This is, by the way, I am being paid to talk about California by the Board of Tourism. And
Could you imagine? Oh my
hashtag sponsored California Board of Tourism.
right? I love your personality, and I honestly consider you to be hilarious. I know you mostly from your work on Screen Junkies, and I'm really curious to ask you, from a host to a host. It's really interesting. I've been really enjoying interviewing people who are also hosts because I feel like it's such a different experience per person. How
Mhm.
do you manage to still bring your humor to the role of being a host? I feel like that's definitely something that isn't very easy, and I'm really curious to hear how you do that.
That's a great question. A lot of times they want you to dilute your personality a little bit and stick with whatever the subject matter is. But I've been very fortunate in as much as I enjoy being a natural goofball
Mhm.
and being silly. I do a lot of comedy outside of hosting. I perform at the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater a lot, and I do a lot of comedy writing and performing. So whenever I can, if I can infuse my authentic self and make it fun for me, doing comedy, being goofy, that makes it fun for me. And I think ideally you want to strike a balance where you are doing the task at hand, interviewing this person about whatever project or why, whatever the reason is that you're there, but then also entertain yourself and not do every cookie cutter interview that you see. And that's the thing that's, if you're able to make it a little bit unique and funny and silly, the person you're interviewing ideally will enjoy it a little bit more. And then also, it's going to be more interesting to watch than just the same set of softball questions that, I've done million and one movie junkets where you sit there and you go in the room and you have 4 minutes. It's like a pressure cooker, and you're with the actor or the director, and you have 4 minutes to ask them your questions. and you could tell when it's kind of like, oh, I've gotten this question before.
Right.
And so how do you get them, a little bit geeked up? How do you get them excited? Uh, and I've definitely asked questions and gotten that response where like the eye roll. It's like, okay, so I want to do something that's interesting to them, and then in turn interesting to the viewer, so they don't see the same thing that was on the entertainment report on Channel 4 on the 6 o'clock news or whatever. I want to make it fun. So but one time I did ask Lin-Manuel Miranda, when this is for Moana. Lin-Manuel Miranda, I think, did a voice and did some of the songs for Moana, and I asked him if he would freestyle rap for me.
Oh my God.
and
Did he?
and well, he said, "You know what? I am so tired. I just can't right now. I won't. I can't, and I won't." So I said, so I had to keep the interview going. And again, I'm usually up for anything. So I'm like, okay, what if I do a freestyle rap about Moana and you judge me on it? And
Nice.
he's like,
Nice.
okay, that'll do. So then the pressure was on, and fortunately, I was able to break off a few rhymes. And Lin Manuel Miranda said, "Nicely done." He said I did a did a
Wow.
good job, and it was fun. It was super fun.
Oh my gosh, you got a compliment out of it too. So that's really,
Yes,
look at that.
but yeah, making it fun for yourself, and if you're able to. But a lot of times, I've done interviews where the publicist was like tapping me on the shoulder and saying, talk about the movie, because I was trying to have too much fun. But here's the thing: the piece was to promote the movie. If the questions are funny and silly and we're getting good content rather than just the boring, what was it like working with so and so?
Well, and I was
Did
gonna
you
say,
got
because
Yeah.
you can't even. I've been in that situation. I host red carpets in
Uh-huh.
aside from this, so I've been in that situation. It's very hard to. I've been racking my brain of how can I rephrase questions and come in with unique questions beyond like, what was it filming in a pandemic? Like, what was that like? What was it like for you to, because you can't really ask the questions about the actual thing itself, even if you have seen it, especially depending on when you get that release date. So it can be very
Yeah,
challenging.
certainly. Yeah, a lot of times there's an embargo on the information, and so yeah, that is the challenge. So Hannah, listen, being an interviewer, we are the true heroes. Just
I
kidding.
love
Just kidding. No, it's fun, and you get to be part of the event, but then also yeah, it's how do we make it, not just fluff? How do we make
right.
it like something that like is actually, oh, this is kind of cool at
Right.
the
And
same
then
time.
and then you want that person to walk away and be like, wow, I really enjoyed that interaction with that person. Next time I see them at this
Yes.
event, then I'm going to walk right up to them and then I'm going to be like, hey, I want to talk to you because you asked me a good batch of questions last time. That's why it's so hard to go the generic route, but sometimes you just have to. So I'm going to incorporate your tidbit there and see how that works for me and apply it. So thank you for the advice.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Definitely. Well, you've also interviewed one of my absolute favorite celebrities who is also a comedian in and of her own right, Melissa McCarthy. And actually, your mom kind of interviewed. This is like my favorite clip from Screen Junkies, by the way. I love your mom as well. Please let her know
Thank you.
that.
I will.
What was all of that like for you? What was it like to have your mom there and being on set with you? And like, it's Melissa McCarthy. She's hilarious. I'm sure she's a doll. Like, what was that whole experience like for you?
One Getting to work with my mom at Screen Junkies is one of my favorite things I've gotten to do. And we've gotten to do, let me just like run down the list real quick, and of the things we've gotten to do. So we first started out doing a series where we would watch some movies together that would be particularly awkward for a child to watch with their parents. So we watched The Human Centipede. Are you familiar with The Human Centipede?
I am not. No, but it sounds
Oh,
interesting just based off of the title.
Hannah, it is horrific. It's a horror movie where an evil scientist imprisons these these people that needed help on the side of the road, and he takes them down to his laboratory and he connects them from their mouth to their butts, three of them, so they are three people surgically connected to make a human centipede.
Oh
Yeah,
my God. Why? What is there? Is there a reason?
he's an evil
Just-
maniac.
it's just,
He's an
oh
evil
my
maniac. So it's a horror movie. So it's just horrendous. And it's also like boring and weird. So I watched that with my mom. It's like scary, and then it's also kind of boring because it takes a while for this, like, the interesting stuff to happen. And then I also watched with my mom 2 of the 50 Shades of Grey movies. And that was really weird. But my mom is the best sport in the world. And those movies are also like, they're weird and boring. And then like there's like sexy, quote unquote, sex parts. But it was, and my mom like covered my eyes.
Oh my gosh, wait, that's so cute. She's like, no, 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 don't.
Yes. But
Oh,
and then in addition to interviewing Melissa McCarthy for Life of the Party film from a couple of years ago, we also, probably one of my favorite interview I did with my mom, when we went down to Miami for the premiere of the movie Ride Along 2, and my mom got to interview Ice Cube and Kevin Hart.
oh my goodness.
And that was just a delight, and they were so cool. Those guys were really good sports, and my mom did great. But going back to Melissa McCarthy, I have a connection with Melissa because I spent a lot of time doing comedy at the Groundlings. I was in the Sunday company at the Groundlings. And actually, Melissa McCarthy's husband, Ben Falcone, was my director
Oh my
in the
goodness.
Sunday company. So I had a little bit of a connection. I knew Melissa McCarthy. I think I might have done a show with her back, like an improv show back in the day at the Groundlings as well, a one-off improv show. So she is just a delight. And it was really great to see her. She's like, hey, Hal. And then when you bring your mom, people have no choice but to be a little bit nicer to you when your
That is
mom is
a
there.
really good point. You have a built-in buffer. That's awesome. Oh
Yes.
my gosh.
And so, yeah, Melissa McCarthy, she's very sweet. I've interviewed her a few times since my Groundlings days. I also interviewed her without my mom for the film Identity Thief with her and Jason Bateman. And but back to my mom and her interview style. Can I relate to you my favorite moment that my
Yes.
mom just pulled off as a champ? So when my mom was interviewing Ice Cube and Kevin Hart, I told my mom to ask Ice Cube. I wrote down the question for her. So when you were in NWA, you had a song called "F the Police," and now in this movie, you're playing a policeman. What changed? And Ice Cube cracked up laughing, and he's like, you let your mom say that? And then he said, well, what changed? Well, my mom washed my mouth out with soap.
Oh my gosh, that is golden.
Yeah, it was a great when my mom just nailed it. She's I adore her. I mean, she's my mom. Come on. But yeah, I really enjoy doing those kind of events and things with her.
She has great comedic timing. I have to say, I watched that particular clip of the Melissa McCarthy interview for Life of the Party multiple times because I was just like, this woman has such impeccable comedic timing. I'm honestly a fan. Like, if your mom ever drops a merch line, please send me a link, please, because
Hannah, I'm going to pass that along. Thank you. My mother will love to hear that. Oh, and by the way, she goes around showing the clips to people. Like if she has a doctor's appointment, she'll be in the waiting room and she'll be like, did you know that I got to interview Melissa McCarthy? Let me show you the clip. Pull up YouTube.
because people are probably like, yeah, sure. And then she's just like, no, wait, here, take a look. That's great. Oh my gosh. Well, I have to say, you guys are a great duo. And there's nothing better than being able to really, I wish to God that I could bring one of my parents or both of my parents at the same time, even let them pick and have them be a part of this particular experience or even like a red carpet experience, there's nothing like it. So it's really an honor that you got to share that with your mom. And I just have to say that's very endearing, and you guys are hilarious, and you guys should really somehow manage to get in front of some producers and get a show, the two of you, because you guys are great.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Hannah. And yeah, I really treasure the experiences I've gotten to be on camera with my mom, and it's yeah, it is special to me actually.
Awesome. And then my final question to you is, you did mention that you are a comedian. I'm really curious to know, because I personally, I love stand up. I will literally be in my living room and I will, instead of listening to music or anything like that, I'll do like my at home workout. So I lift my little like 8-pound weights. I'll do like a minute plank and I'm watching Sebastian Maniscalco. Like I'll just be literally doing my thing, but I'll have stand up on in the background, specifically stand up. So as somebody who is super passionate about the art and the craft of it, do you have any particular stories or anything like that where you maybe had a really unique experience, whether it was like you tanked, or maybe you didn't tank, maybe you actually did fantastic? Do you have like any comedy stories that you'd like to share with the audience, with other comedy enthusiasts?
Sure. Well, when you say when you ask if I tanked, yes, I have, and I feel like you have to, in order to, you have to dare to fail in this thing that we're doing. And we were talking about doing these celebrity interviews. Sometimes you got to get a bad one under your belt so you know what not to do down the road. And comedy wise, you got to walk that tightrope and dare to fail. Otherwise, you're in your comfort zone and you're not going to quite reach the potential heights that you can, or it's just going to be boring for you. And yeah, you just may not make any progress. So I remember very early on when I was in college at Penn State, I got the gig to host a show called Greek Sing for all the fraternities and sororities at Penn State. I was hosting in a packed giant theater in front of 3,000 people. And I was supposed to open the show with 10 minutes of stand up. And about 2 minutes in, um, the all the fraternity and sorority, mostly like think drunk frat guys, just started booing and would not let up.
They
And
you like
yeah,
literally
oh, like, and everyone, like, again, like, this was fraternities and sororities, so I should have gone into it being like, oh yeah, this audience is going to be drunk and they're not going to. And I was doing this material. I had taken a stand-up workshop in New York, and I was in college, and I was doing uh all sorts of improv comedy at the time, and it it did not go well. I lost them. I never got them back, and I just kept going with my regular material. I didn't adjust. I should have tailored it a little bit more for the crowd. I should have been like, "Hey, what up? Who's been drinking tonight?" And then everyone would have went, "Woo!" You know, uh, what? But yeah, I bombed big time, and I wanted to crawl under a rock and never come out from under that rock. But I did. I came back out from under it, and it was, you need that experience to know that it's possible to fail and learn something from it. Learn to adjust your material, learn to shift on the fly, learn to connect and interact with the audience, and then you move on from it and you get smarter, you get wiser, you get better. The great comedian Bernie Mac, one of the original kings of comedy, if you remember that documentary directed by Spike Lee in the late '90s, and Bernie Mac, no longer with us, but one of the great stand-up comedians of all time. He's got a classic clip of doing stand-up comedy at the Apollo Theater in Harlem, New York, and they are a notoriously tough crowd, and he came out, and and they had been booing people off the stage all night, and Bernie Mac came out defiantly, and he said, "I ain't scared of you MFers." And like, it's such a classic moment, and the audience loved how defiant he was. And like, you got to know, oh yeah, audiences can be scary sometimes, and you got to adjust and you got to go with it and learn from there. But yeah, you fail, you dust yourself off, you try again, and you got to dare to fail. You got to try stuff. Otherwise, yeah, you're going to stay in one lane and it's going to be potentially boring. So yeah, don't be afraid to fail. Absolutely.
Definitely. Well, I guess at that you have to look and say, well, what good is it to stay in your comfort zone at that point? You know, what good are you doing yourself if you don't go and take the challenge? And I have to say, good on you for being able to. I really like that you said that you literally committed to your bit for the entirety of the 10 minutes, even though you lost them at 2, because, you know, at that point, it is hard. I personally don't know firsthand, but from what I've seen and from what I've heard from other people in the field of comedy, I know that it is very hard to get your audience back. And even for you to have lost them, I'm really glad that you stuck with it, because I think that night for you, and even just by you going to that story when I asked you that question, that probably means something to you. And that probably did so much for you and for your career that you may not even still understand. So I'm glad that you stuck with it and that you plowed through. That's all you can do at that point. So
Thanks, Hannah. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's now I know that I've been there. I will survive if something doesn't go well, or if people react poorly, I can adjust. I've picked up more skills along the way. So yeah, I feel that it was a formative experience, and I didn't let it stop me. I only let it was an experience, and now it's grist for the mill.
look at that. You said, all right, what's next?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Well, great job. Thank you so much for coming on and speaking with me today. Honestly, you're so great. And I just had a really great time. And this interview is by far one of my favorite that I've done. So I just want to say thank you.
Hannah, that's so nice. And I'm absolutely going to let my mom know, because she is delighted anytime anyone talks to her about the videos we did together. And I'm going to let her know she's got a fan in you. And it was such a delight talking to you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And I hope to have you back on soon, and tell your mom that she's more than welcome to come on too. I'd even love to interview both of you guys.
You know what? Be careful what you wish for, because my mom loves the spotlight.
I love it. I've got several. We'll put one on her. It's fine. That's our show. Thank you so much to Hal for joining me and having such a wonderful, funny conversation. I genuinely enjoyed every minute of it. My challenge to you guys for this week is to really engage your active listening skills, whether this is with a boss or a best friend or a lover, whoever it may be. Make sure that you guys are really listening to that person and listening to what they are telling you. Don't let your outside life come into the conversation. Don't be thinking about something else as somebody's talking to you. And I guarantee that you are actually going to walk away feeling 10 times better by really listening to what it is that person had to say. And on top of things, they'll actually feel very much heard. So it's kind of a win-win. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned and stick around. Stay safe. God bless. And oh my gosh, you guys, I will see you through the screen. Bye, guys.